We're at Becoming Enlightened Together. Okay, I'm incorporating some binary beats in the background that hopefully, will resonate with you and make you feel a little bit better and so on. I'm using 432 hertz, 528, and 741, which is supposed to remove all damages to body, mind, and soul. So a little bit of soothing background, environment as we go through this reading and so on. Now, the reading itself, again, it's more positive than negative, but there is some negative attributes or characteristics about today, especially as far as the future outcome is concerned. But by and large, the majority of the energy is very, very positive, including the overall energy for the week itself, which again encompasses, the reading as a whole, all 7 days of the week, and that's Yera, Yera in the upright. And basically, that is number 12. It's the 12th letter in their runic alphabet. Translates to three. Uh, and three, again, is a holy number, in Norse terminology and belief system, as it is within Christianity and so on. The Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and it's no different than it is in the Celtic Trinity. Only theirs, of course, is Mother, Maiden, and Crone. Okay, and that's what this symbol right here represents. So they represented, and most indigenous tribes. I don't like using that word alone because it paints a different picture than what I'm trying to convey. But, anyways, any other non-Christian or Judeo-Christian culture, if you will, they basically gave a lot of respect to the divine feminine. And when you break it down and you look at the Gnostic texts, they also gave a tremendous amount of respect to the divine feminine. So even though it's completely a patriarchal system that we see within the West today, again fostered by the church in general, we find that in the Gnostic text it makes it very, very clear that the woman, the divine feminine, is very highly thought of, spoken of. In fact, when you talk about Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, the Holy Ghost is defined as, if you will, like the Divine Mother. So it is what it is, and I'm not going to get a whole lesson going in terms of Gnostic belief systems versus traditional dogma within the Abrahamic faith, but it's just something that I think needs to be put out there, because everything I believe, at least in this world, is conveys a sense of balance. We see that within the laws of physics. For every action there's equal opposite reaction. We see whenever there is any type of inequality and so on. It's the theory of electricity. It's the theory of many, many different things. Of heat, you know, heat travels from hot to cold. So if you have a hot beverage or whatever, and generally it will cool down to whatever the room temperature is, give it enough time, because the molecules will transfer. The hot molecules are vibrating very quickly to the slower vibrating, cooler molecules, if you will. And what we see by that, I think, is that at least in this reality, we see a tremendous amount that we can learn from. Again, within Christianity, it tells us very often that, nobody will be without, an excuse in the end because of nature itself. And nature does paint a lot of what we need to know about the reality in terms of our spiritual, journey as well. So we also have both masculine and feminine attributes, and we need to, one, accept that reality, two, find out what that really means, and learn how to balance out those energies, appropriately. Take control. And by harnessing that energy, you become a much more whole and complete, functioning human being in this reality. Now, you are everything that you need to be, but most people are completely unaware of these things, and they go on their whole life in that particular state of mind, state of being. state of spirit. And, once you become aware of these things and you know how to harness this stuff, then you become more. You become what you are meant to be. That divine spark is able to manifest itself in a much more pronounced way, so to speak. Okay? And of course, this is all, my opinion based on my observations, my life experiences, and my many years of research. Like I said, I own almost all the world's major religious texts and occultic books, esoteric books, Gnostic belief systems, the Hermetic books, things of that nature. So I'm not saying I'm an expert, but it gives me a general better understanding of the whole, so to speak. Okay, and I think that's what we all need to have, and I think that's where modern academia lacks. Anyway, again, as always, I digress. Please forgive me. Alright, so this reading, back to Yera. Again, number 3 is a holy number in terms of Nordic belief systems. Again, you have the 3 Norns, which are the weavers of fate, like the fates in Greek and Roman belief systems. You have the 3 roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. It's a force of dynamism. We have the runes, basically themselves, that are broken down into 3 aits or families of 8 runes apiece. 3 families, 24 runes in total. So it's very highly regarded, the number 3, in other words. And again, that's our overall energy in Yera. And we also have 3 found a couple of other times. I'm sorry, that's not today. No, not today. The next one is also, no, moving on, I'm sorry. Anyways, what does Yera mean? Well, it talks about cycles, and of course there's many types of cycles. You have the, the solar cycle, of course, 365 days. You have the lunar cycle, which is roughly 13 weeks of complete moon cycles. I'm sorry, 13 months of complete moon cycles of 30 days each, which comes out to 360 days. You have the female's menstrual cycle, and of course the world operates on a multitude of different cycles, okay, which just reminds us that there are ebbs and flows which occur naturally within life, and it's a reminder of that. So even if it's bad right now, if things are tough for you right now, that means inevitably at some point it's going to get far better, okay? It also talks about legalities and rewards, winning in a legal battle if indeed you are in the midst of one. It talks about peace and commitment and the results of your earlier efforts, being made manifest, so reaping what you've sown, in other words. And this is what I mean as far as our good karma is coming our way. Talks about happiness, breakthroughs, and stagnation. Have you been feeling stagnant because maybe you're looking for a job, haven't found one, or things are just ho-hum, the same routine each and every day? Well, it looks like that's going to change here very soon. Talks about promises of success is earned, and it talks about basically everything happening within its own time. Now, within Christianity and so on, we hear it all the time. It's on God's timing, not our timing. And trust me when I say that, yes, I fully have had to grasp that that concept. Things have been going on literally for me for years. But God puts His people through the toughest things. When they themselves are capable of handling these types of difficulties. So if you're going through it, that's because God really thinks a lot of you. So think highly of yourself as well. Now, the past energy that we got for today is Tiwaz. Now, this is the god Tyr's rune, but this one is in reverse. Now, Tyr is ordinarily seen as the god of justice, judgment, righteousness, things of that nature. He is a god of, if you were to put a single word, I guess, stoicism. he does what needs to be done, irregardless of how it affects him personally. He would go to any length to do the right thing. He doesn't fight with magic. He fights with his tenacity and his belief, strong belief that he is right, and he will perform no matter what the situation in the most right manner. Okay, but as you can imagine, this is in the reverse. So the energy is typically, just like in tarot, reversed to some degree too. So we're talking about, in this case, instead of having a tremendous amount of energy, your energy is feeling blocked. You feel listless. Maybe you have questionable motives. And by you, I'm talking about probably, from what I'm seeing here, not the collective as a whole, although some of this could, in fact, be also carried over to the collective. It talks about competition. Hopefully, you're not in competition with anybody but yourself. Having a blocked creativity. Again, remember when we talk about creativity, that is the divine spark that's in all of us. When we are creative, it means, well, one, basically, in terms of our chakra system, we're well grounded, okay? And our sexual chakra in particular is properly functioning, okay? Because that's where we get a lot of our creativity and so on, from that particular area, that chakra. And that's why it's imperative that we don't waste that energy unnecessarily. And that doesn't mean, of course, being with the one that you love is wrong, not at all. But it just means, some people, they waste that energy needlessly. And I mean, in the most heinous of ways, really. Alright, so talks about mental paralysis, a dwindling passion, difficulties in communication, and possible separation. So again, this doesn't sound like the energy for my collective. It really sounds like those who are having a difficult time and probably vibrating at a much, much lower rate than I presume the collective out there would be. You guys are doing the work on yourselves. You know what it means to, basically work with the person and to love the person that you're with. And, you don't judge, things of that nature. So forgiveness is a big part of that. But that doesn't mean if somebody's coming at you, especially unnecessarily and unprovoked and so on, you can't do what you need to do. You can, and you should. Okay? Now, in terms of magic, with Tiwaz, it's used in combat situations, physically or in legal manners. Anything that's dealing in some form of competitive environment in any way, shape, or form, whether it's in a sense of mortality or in a sense of actual monetary, issues back and forth. So you can use that particular energy in that regard, to find victory before any competition. Now our present energy is Algis. And again, this is the one I always point out that Winston Churchill made so popular as the initiated druid or pagan that he was in World War II. And he made the peace symbol very popular, which carried over into the 60s and everything else during the peace movement. So what does Algis stand for? Well, first off, it's the number 6 in the runic numerology. And this is the number of vibrant life and strength. It's used in basic, matters of creation and destruction. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot we got to go on, as I've been stating. But what does it mean? Well, in the upright, and it is in the upright, so the present energy looks good. It talks about friendships and optimism, a person's soul, who they really are inside, their aspirations, a sense of shielding yourself and, shielding others or guarding others. A sense of defense or warding off of evil. In fact, it's used that way magically. Feeling as a guardian or guardianship, if you will. Connection with the gods. Awakening to a higher life and following your intuition. Talks about keeping hold of success or maintaining a position that you had either won or earned. So, again, very positive energy, but it's dynamic. You have to apply it, okay? As all of these energies are. Now, in terms of our obstacles and challenges, we got Canes, but it too is in the upright. So, Canes is typically talking about a fire or torch or knowledge, in other words. Just like Prometheus gave us the flame, or the ability of fire, if you will. Well, that's often also you know looked at as possibly knowledge that was given to us as well. Not just the ability to cook our meat or what have you, but to understand this world and the many intricacies that make things the way that they are. So, okay, very advanced knowledge. And knowledge, of course, is, when it's applied, and becomes wisdom, is power, indeed. But it can also be a burden, especially when it's a heavy weight that we have become aware of. Okay, so we're going to see that as we proceed. So that's what it means: torch, knowledge, beacon, uh, energy of any kind, really. It talks about positivity, but it also talks about lust, okay, rapport, vision, revelation and creativity, inspiration, technical abilities. So maybe you work in a technical craft of some kind. You work with your hands or your mind. Maybe you're a computer programmer or analysis or something like that, analyst. It talks about the vital fire of life. It talks about harnessed power to create your own reality. So it's that inner fire that burns in all of us, right? Again, it could be from that sexual energy that we get, you know, from our sex chakra. Talks about the power of light, clarity, being open to new strength right now, energy and power being present, passion and sexual love. So perhaps, I know I've been feeling pretty amorous the last couple of days. I didn't know if it was yet another attack, to be honest with you, or if it was just I was feeling good, But perhaps some of you guys are out there, girls too. You're feeling that amore, whatever the case may be, and you want to get busy with it. So that's what this is talking about. This energy is definitely available and it's out there. So if you're tapping into it, you're vibrating at a higher resonance and you're feeling that, go with it, Express that love with the person you're with. Alright, so that's Canes. How is it used in magic? Well, it's used while studying or pursuing any type of creative or manifestation that you're doing in life. Matter of fact, if you think about the law of attraction, this is the rune for the law of attraction. It helps you to manifest things. Okay, that's what it's for. Alright, I don't know if I actually showed it to you, but this is Canes. Okay, I actually have this tattooed on my hand here. Okay, so Canes right there, and right next to Odin's rune. Okay, that's Ansus Canes. Alright, so next, for the help and advice, we have Othala, and it too is in the upright. Again, it looks like the diamond with the legs at the bottom, although it's highly worn in this rune. It's hard to see. It's number 24, which is number 6, and I just gave you what number 6 was with Canes. Okay, again, it's a dynamic force, vibrant life, and strength, but it also talks about creativity and destruction. So we see that twice in a row. Actually 3 times in a row. 666 is what I have here. The present, obstacle, and the advice. All 3 of them come out to number 6. Alright, so Othala in the upright stands for a home, house, dwelling, property, ancestral property, an inheritance of some type, inherited property, or inherited possessions of some type. Perhaps somebody had passed away and left you something. Okay? It talks about what's important to one or to a group of people, group prosperity. It talks about the land of your birth. Perhaps somebody's been thinking or contemplating on maybe getting one of those DNA tests to find out more about who they are and so on. That's what I did. And I got some very pleasant surprises, things I was never told my whole life. It talks about your personal values and experiences. It talks about aid in both spiritual and physical journeys at this time. So ask and you will receive. It talks about a source of safety, and it talks about increased abundance, and that's how Othala is used magically for calling upon your ancestors and also bringing about abundance and things of that nature. So you can work with your ancestors in those endeavors. They want to help you, okay? But you have to call upon them. I mean, it's just like having what did they call it in Star Trek? They have some type of code where they cannot intervene with the other planets, so to speak, unless they are asked to intervene in some way. I forget what it's called. It's been so many years, but it's similar to that in a sense, and spiritually as well. They're not just simply going to turn stones over for you and everything else. They can't without your, asking for that help. Okay. That's not to say they're not there. They're not there in some sense protecting you and trying to guide you in some way. We all have, if you will, our guardian angel, so to speak. For some people, especially indigenous, tribes, they often believe it's their ancestors that are doing that. There is something there. Some people believe it's nothing but your higher self. I believe it's all of the above, personally. And it could actually be extraterrestrials that are helping as well. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore. And the more I find out, the less shocked I am about some of the things that have seemingly revealed themselves to me. I know that everything I've been told is a bold-faced lie, so it's not as shocking after finding out many of these truths, the real truths of this world. Okay? Almost anything is possible. Alright, so that's Othala. Now finally, our outcome and our future is Berkana, but it is in the reverse. And this is why we had all these previous energies that were positive, because we need that for what's happening, okay? And what may be happening is some of us may be experiencing family issues or problems right now. We may have some very specific needs for our families. Or we may be deeply worried about somebody specific in our family. So again, we have all of these other energies that are very specific to overcoming that particular hurdle, that challenge that we have coming up our way. And that's why it was always told to us beforehand, before we see what the future holds for us. And it just happens to be in the reverse. So it talks about domestic troubles, carelessness and abandon. Talks about feeling a loss of control, the blurring of consciousness, deception even, sterility, stagnation. So again, if you're feeling lost, you're not able to get that job, or you keep applying and you haven't heard back from anybody, that's going to change here very soon. And you certainly have the power available to you to manifest these things. You can use Kanaz and Othala to overcome, basically, or manifest anything. You have Algiz and Yera, basically, which will help you to overcome just about any obstacle. So the energy is there, present for us, and we're always going to have hurdles, big and small, that are thrown in front of us to make us stronger, if you will. And that's what they're telling us. Now, Berkana magically talks about fertility issues. So again, if, as this is stating in the reverse, that we do have an issue with fertility, and you're looking to try to produce, a child of some type, you can use Berkana basically as a means of, making that happen. Okay, and it just simply means to, one way you can do it magically, and it's about visualization. You know, your words are magic. They are power. So be very careful with the things that you say. And I know I have to be vigilant with my words too. Sometimes I get angry and I say things and I realize that, you know, I could do a tremendous amount of harm. You know, the Bible talks about it as well. You know, basically the tongue is the sword, so to speak, and you can do a tremendous amount of damage with it. You can also do a tremendous amount of good, including manifesting positive things into your life. So, you know, positive affirmations daily, visualizing it, calling upon Virkana, you know, as you're visualizing the very thing that you desire, whether it's a new child or some other creation or manifestation, and this will help to manifest this for you. Okay. Remember, these runes are not just letters in an alphabet. They're actually symbols that have tremendous power behind them, magic. And it was Freya that basically, you know, helped teach Odin a certain type of magic. But he himself sacrificed not only himself to himself by hanging upside down on a tree for 9 days and nights while being impaled and ripping out his own eyeball for it. That one eye thing that we see the symbol of the one eye or the all-seeing eye all the time. And it's got a lot of symbology, or symbolism, I should say, that we see in many different cultures. So there's no just one description of what it means, okay? And believe me, I've heard them all. I've heard so many different interpretations of what it means, and I read some of these darker, occultic books, or I read some hermetic books that refer to it, and it's got a different meaning. So you try to gather all this information to get a more complete understanding of what the actual foundational concept was when it was first incorporated, whenever that might be. Very, very long time ago. Okay. But that's our reading for today, you guys. We have very good, powerful energy our way, but we also have a hurdle or two coming our way, and it's just reminding us that we have all the energy necessary to overcome it, okay? But it's going to take effort and your faith, basically, to overcome this, and whatever faith it is that you practice, whatever magically you practice. And I'm not here to judge in any way, shape, or form. I think that many of these different, practices are viable. You know, if you believe in them, there is the potentiality of them producing something in line with your will. Okay, but remember, there is a sense of reciprocity even within the universe, and it looks after its own. So, you know, if you're putting negative energy or you're forcing your will over somebody else's will, that's going to come back to you at some point. So, and especially if they are a higher vibrational being, that means they're probably very much aware of it. They feel it, and they send any negative energy right back to you. It bounces back like a boomerang. So, just think positive is, I guess, what I'm getting at, you know, and do positive things. Bless, don't curse people, things of that nature, okay? And that's where I'm going to leave it, and I hope this helped somebody out there, okay? In the meantime, you guys all have a blessed rest of the day. Stay victorious, and someday we'll meet in Valhalla.